Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Hill information meeting. Go ahead and raise your hand if you can hear me okay. You know how to raise your hand? In the chat box. There we go. Perfect. So welcome to our information meeting. We're really excited that you're all here. I am Marissa Hill, and I'm just going to give you a little brief info or a little intro to me. I have 7 children. My oldest will be embarking into college next week, and my youngest is 18 months old. And we have been homeschooling for about 6 or 7 years. And brief little history is that we lived in Minnesota for about 7 years, and my oldest turned 5 there. And when we were there, my husband said, we should start homeschooling. And so I at first was kind of overwhelmed, and then I got on board and said, okay. So I started doing research, got everything prepared. And then a couple days after school started, he came back and said, nope, we need to send our daughter to school so she can be an example to others. And at the time I didn't have any support, so that's what we did. Schools in Minnesota were really great for us at that time. But then when we moved to Arizona, my 2 oldest daughters and my oldest son, they came here, and we tried 1 year in the schools here, and my son needed more stability. So we came home, and we did school at home for 3 years. And it was when I started to do homeschooling that I met Ashley, whose name in the chat box says Jonathan, but that's Ashley. Anyway, so I met Ashley. She introduced me to leadership education. And so I spent 3 years trying to do school at home, and it was a struggle. And then I learned about leadership education and realized that that was exactly what my son needed. And so when we started to implement leadership education principles, my son stopped fighting me, and he actually wanted to learn. And so then a few years later after that, Ashley invited me to participate in what was the first year of the Hill, and it was located in Mesa. And I live in Surprise. And so it was pretty amazing that I felt so strongly that we were supposed to be a part of the Hill. And so for 2 years, I drove over to Mesa to participate in the Hill, and still firmly believe that that really shaped and changed our lives for the better. And I'm going to let Ashley tell you just a little bit about herself and a little bit more about the Hill and why we find that it is so important to our homeschool.
Oh, hi everyone. So yes, I'm Ashley Meekum, and I have 5 kids. My oldest is 17 and my youngest is 10. And we've been homeschooling from the beginning. When my oldest was probably about 4 years old, she taught herself how to read. And my husband was like, she's going to be bored at school. What do you think about homeschooling? And I had gone to school to be an educator, and had some experiences with other homeschoolers that I regretted, because I said to them, like, you don't have any right to, or education to homeschool. Why do you think you can homeschool? I went to school for 4 years. And so when my husband suggested that we homeschool, I kind of had to swallow some pride. I had to go apologize to the people that I talked to about that I'd said that to. And then anyway, we went head in. And my cousin, or my husband's cousin, had introduced me to leadership education. She gave me a book to read called The Thomas Jefferson Education by Oliver DeMille. And I read it. I loved everything that I learned in it. Thought it was great, but I'm like, how am I supposed to apply this in my home? As a brand new homeschooler, I had no idea what to do. And so I kind of put the book on the shelf. And then 4 years later, my husband started on a path of his own, about just changing his views on education. And he came across the book, Thomas Jefferson Education, and I was like, Ashley, you should read this. This is something that we should do in our home. And I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with you. But I don't know how. So anyway, I read it again, and then I figured out how to apply it into my home. I went to some homeschool conferences that taught all about leadership education. I figured out how to do it. At one of these homeschool conferences, I actually saw what's called the scholars, like the kids that are maybe 14 years old, putting on a presentation. And at the time, my daughter was maybe 7 or 8, and I said, that is what I want for my kids. When I saw that presentation put on for them, I said, that's what I want. And I figured out how to make it happen. And so through the process, I had to make a little bit of change in my own education. I had to make a change in some of the associations that I was making. And I went on a search for families that thought the same way that I wanted to homeschool, that homeschooled with leadership education. And the place that I found them was out in Mesa. And I live in El Mirage, so I'm about 45 minutes to an hour away from Mesa. And anyway, I found a group that had a school, like a Commonwealth school, a family school kind of like this, that we're going to introduce you to today. And I met some great families through that. We went there for a year. And then in the process, I met some great families. And a couple of them asked me and my husband to be on the board of creating this new kind of family school, which became the Hill. And we, anyway, so we created it. We were out there in Mesa for a couple of years, and then we decided that we wanted to expand, because that was the whole point of it, was to take these principles and apply them in our own neighborhoods. And so we expanded the school, and Marissa helped me out here. So she came with me out to Mesa, and then she helped me start the one out here in the West Valley. And we've been going out here for probably, I want to say 3 or 4 years. We couldn't never quite figure out how many years it's going. And we're looking to grow and expand. We're looking for more families who want the same thing that we want. And so we're hoping today that we can explain to you guys what it is that the Hill is all about, and see if we're a good fit. Because we get that not everyone thinks the same way that we do. And so we're hoping that we can educate you on what the Hill does, what our mission is, what leadership education is, and why we do what we do, and in hopes that you feel the same way and would like to join us. So, so let's start here. Can you guys all see the screen okay? Maybe give me a thumbs up, or I don't know, chat in the box that says, I'm assuming you guys can see the screen okay. So we are the Hill, and the Hill stands for, I'm seeing here, we can see it. All right, thanks guys. Okay, I can't see the chat box, so Marissa's gonna watch the chat for a little bit while I'm talking. Well, it's my turn. So anyway, we're the Hill. The Hill stands for Hero Institute for Lifelong Learning. We're a family school, a family Liber school, and family, we include family because we want everybody to know that we'd like to include the whole family. We want dads to be as involved as they can. We love it when dads can come to the school day, even though we know work schedules don't always permit it. But we have a few outside activities that are for the whole family. We also, understand that some families don't have everybody that homeschools. So sometimes when we get together with the whole family, we see kids that aren't homeschooled come to be part of the different activities that we do. We're going to talk a little bit about what it means, what Liber means also. Oh, what's the next slide. Okay, great. So, so Liber is actually the root word for libro, or book. It's also the root word for liberty, library, and liberal arts. And so if you go back in time in history to about when the Greeks and the Romans, they basically had two classes. They had the slaves and they had the Liber community. The slaves were the ones that did all the work for them. The Liber people were the ones that had a little bit of an education. They could write contracts. They understood their histories. They could present themselves in court like they were eloquent. They had an education. And because they had that education, they were free. And so there's that connection between that Liber and freedom, where the slaves, because they didn't know how to read, because they weren't involved in any kinds of book work or anything like that, they were slaves. They didn't know how to free themselves. A Liber education also means that is a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. I forgot to pull up this real fast. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Williamsburg, there's a school called Williamsburg, and I get an email from them like every week that just kind of has just some, I don't know, some good teaching about how to work with your kids, some own personal development. And a couple weeks ago, Williamsburg sent out this really cool thing about a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. And he says, because he had gotten a Liber education or a leadership education, these are things that had happened. So because I learned how human cultures are formed, I've been able to proactively build a unique family culture that I love. Because I learned how to think about human government, I've implemented checks and balances into my own personal life that keep me happy and productive. Because I deeply explored human nature, it's become easy for me to accept my humanity and the humanity of others, warts and all, and form authentic relationships. Most of all, because I experienced the awe and wonder of discovering what it means to be human, I developed a powerful curiosity about myself, others, and the world we share. To this day, that curiosity drives me to keep expanding my horizons. So I love that he got a Liber education, and because he got this Liber education, all of those different things, like he was able to apply those different principles into his own life in his own way. So another thing that's cool about Liber education is that it prepares people to be leaders, to be financially secure, to be intellectually prepared, emotionally open, empathetic, spiritually strong, and mission-oriented. And I think that's kind of where the last one, mission-oriented, is a big focus of what we do at the Hill. That's part of what our why is at the Hill, is to help people discover their missions and to work towards their missions. And not just kids, but parents also. So a Liber education, just another name for it, is leadership education. So they kind of go hand in hand. A few more details about it. A leadership education is an education to match your mission. And that is, I put it in quotes because that's actually Oliver DeMille, the person who wrote a leadership education. That's what they call it. They call a leadership education as an education to match your mission. Whatever your mission in life happens to be, a leadership education will help you achieve that and reach for that. Leadership education teaches a person how to think, not what to think. It uses mentors, classics, and other principles of great teaching to develop one's unique genius. So when you use a mentor to guide you, or you use classic books, you can be very individualized about a person's education. So that's what the next one is. It's personalized and empowering. It empowers people to live whatever purpose or mission that is that they're searching for. And it inspires a lifelong love of learning so that we can teach our children that learning doesn't end as soon as you graduate high school. They should see us learning and enjoying learning and just always growing ourselves too. So leadership education and a Liber education help to build heroes. And that's what we try to focus on at the Hill, is creating heroes. And I know there's a lot of definitions. A lot of times when we think of what a hero is, we think of Superman, or we think of Batman, or we think of Captain America, or whatever. And those are heroes, but there's also everyday heroes. And so I love this definition of someone who is admired for courage, outstanding achievements, and noble qualities. A hero is somebody who's striving to build vision, belief, desire, courage, attitude, commitment, humility, intuition, determination, gratitude, karma, and kindness in themselves. So I read through that fast because I know you guys can read it right there. But we have these 12 attributes of a hero in our school, and we try to focus on them at least once a session, trying to pick something that we can do to just show the kids what it means to believe. Believing in yourself, believing in others, believing in a goodness in the world. We show them what it means to have karma, that what we do goes around, comes around. And a hero stands as a light to the world. So we just these are all part of our mission and our motto, which we're going to touch on a little bit later. But I'm just trying to show you that a leadership education helps to build these heroes and these hero attributes. All right. Do you have control of it, Marissa? I don't know if I did it right.
Yeah, I think so.
Great.
I'm going to turn my video back on, though. Maybe, if it will let me. Nope, not going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to share a couple of stories that
just illustrate heroes. And this first one is a modern day hero. This is a high schooler. Her name is Melanie Bailey. She was on a cross-country team in North Dakota, and she went to her last big meet of her entire high school career. So she's a senior. She went to the state meet, and as she was running, she saw a girl collapse on the track. And this young woman was grasping her knee, and she was crying, and Melanie Bailey could see that she was in severe pain. And so she, instead of running right past this girl that was hurt, like so many other girls did, Melanie Bailey stopped. And she just asked the girl if she was okay. She kind of helped her to stand up and tried to help her to limp along. And she found that it was evident after taking 2 or 3 steps that this young woman was not able to walk on her own. And so Melanie Bailey said, "Here, climb up on my back." So she pulled up the girl and put her on her back and carried her over a 1/4 mile to the medics. And later, when she was interviewed by the news anchor, by the news reporter asked her why she did it. And Melanie Bailey said, quote, "I'm not going to just leave somebody there. I would feel even worse if I just finished leaving her there, knowing she was crying in pain. I stopped because it was the right thing to do." Melanie Bailey showed courage. She showed that she was able to help someone who was in need. That was, and that is the kind of youth that we are trying to empower at the Hill. I want to go to the next slide. Here we are. There are the controls. Okay, so now we're going to go to an example of a hero leader in history. John Adams. Not only was he one of our founding fathers and one of the presidents of our country, he was able to save the lives of several men. So this happened during the Boston Massacre. And what happened is there was a lot of tension, and it was really high between the colonists and the British soldiers. And there was one soldier who was left one night guarding the custom house. And some angry colonists came up and they started to insult him, and they started to threaten violence. And this soldier eventually just was like, "I've had enough." And so he started to fight back, and he ended up calling for reinforcements. And when those reinforcements came, the violence and just the heat of the moment just escalated. And somehow a soldier fired his gun. It's really unclear if an order was given or if there was a misfire during the report, like looking at reports and journaling and stuff. Some of the colonists were saying, "Don't fire," and some were saying, "Fire." And so it was hard to know, did someone actually think they heard a command to fire or an order to fire? Or was it completely a misfire and his finger slipped? But what happened is that several colonists were killed. And so that just kind of ignited the fire even more under these colonists. And they wanted to immediately hang these British soldiers. Their hatred for them was so much that they didn't even want to give them a fair trial. And no one would represent them anyway. But for John Adams, who believed that all men have a right to a fair trial and to have their voices heard. So he represented these soldiers, and through that representation and through the trial, those soldiers were found not guilty, and their lives were preserved. So John Adams was not only highly trained in law, but he also had a high moral character and education, and he showed tremendous leadership in that moment. So both Melanie Bailey and John Adams, they showed great character, great competence, and they showed that they both have a sign of a liberal arts or a leadership education. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ashley. Oh, Ashley, you're still muted.
There we go. Sorry. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so we have a mission that we try to live by, and this is our why. This is why we do what we do. And anytime we have to make a new decision, we try to tie it back into our mission to make sure that we're still living up to the principles that we want to and the reason why we're doing what we're doing. So before I read this off, I want to just read our why that we have on our golden circle. It says, we believe that all men and women have the God-given ability to become heroes and stand as a light to the world. We also believe that individuals and families feel joy as they follow the hero's journey to fulfill their life's mission. So our mission is equipping heroes with hearts to serve and eyes on excellence. We realize our potential through obedience to God and encourage each other to stand as a light to the world. We are heroes. And every Friday when we meet, we have a little devotional at the beginning of our session, and we say this together. And as we say at the very last one, and we kind of have some sign language that goes along with it, but at the very end of it, we all go, we are heroes. And it's so cool to hear the kids shout that out. So we hope that as we spend time reading different books and talking about different things, that the kids get an opportunity to understand these things as our mission. And our motto is higher thoughts, kinder words, greater deeds. We're just trying to elevate our school and the families in our school to do these things, to be what we think it makes to be heroes. All right, Marissa, your turn again.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about community. As Ashley mentioned in the beginning, we are a family school, and that means everybody's involved. Everybody has something that is specifically for them. So this little diagram just kind of outlines what things we have. So we've got, for the moms, we have a mom's class. We'd like to do a family foundations class for the moms. That's something we're hoping to be able to do as we grow. And we also provide mentoring for the moms. Try to, just help them to know either what they're, address what they're struggling with in their own homeschool, or help them to try and improve their mentoring in their class at the Hill. Because at the Hill, all of the moms are the mentors for the classes. And we'll get into that a little bit later about how that works. But we do provide mentoring for those moms, for everyone. The other thing that we have for moms is the Classics Challenge. And that is also for our dads. We want to invite our dads to come to as much as possible. And they are invited to anything that they are able to come to. But the Classics Challenge is a once a month book discussion for the moms and the dads. No children allowed. We get together and we discuss classic books. Some of the books we've discussed are things like Leadership and Self-Deception, or we've discussed Great Expectations. We've discussed so many books. Ashley, can you think of any others? I'm trying to rack my brain here.
We just did Joan of Arc, was our most recent one.
That's right.
And then, I've had a brain. I can't remember. Next month we're doing Fourth Turning.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't think of any of them either.
Yeah, but we try to mix it up so that we have some fiction, and some nonfiction or self-improvement or stuff like that, because we want this book discussion to be something that helps us to grow in our own education. So for the youth, we have what Lemmy Scholar Projects. These are for youth who are 12 and up, depending on where they are at in their specific phase of learning. Sometimes they may be 12 and they're not quite ready for that deeper, that deeper study that comes with the Scholar Projects. LEMI is an acronym that stands for Leadership Education Mentoring Institute. And they are an organization who basically they train mentors to mentor classes. And so they have created some Scholar Projects that we'll also go into more depth with our next slide. But we like to incorporate those LEMI Scholar Projects for the youth because they really do help the youth to develop those scholar skills. We also try to do Scholar Nights where the scholars just get together and they have fun and they just build some good lasting relationships. And we do a scholar banquet where they receive awards. They get recognized for all of their hard work that they've done in their Scholar Project, because these Scholar Projects are not easy. It's a lot of work. And we do ask a lot of the scholars, and when they get to the end of the year and they've worked hard and they've been changed because of the work that they've done, we want to recognize them for that. So we have a scholar banquet where it's just for the scholars and it's for their parents, and it's to celebrate how they have become one step closer to becoming who they need to be to achieve their mission, or to be who they are so they can change the world. For the children, we have what we call phase classes. And this basically, in leadership education, there are several different learning phases. And so for the children who are younger and not in scholar phase yet, we have two different types of classes. We have about two different types of classes. We have a younger class that is for the younger children who are between 2 and 7 to 8 years old. And we have another type of class that is for the 8 to 11-year-olds or 8 to 12-year-olds. And these phase classes are, again, they're mom-led because moms are the mentors. And these classes, the moms teach to their passion. They get to choose their specific passion. And some of the classes that we've had have been things like baking or chemistry. We've had one class that, in fact, one of the classes, I believe it was this last session, was on marine biology, which is really awesome because you would never go to any public school and get marine biology for your 6-year-old. It wouldn't happen. But because we are mentors and we know about the different learning phases, we're able to cater whatever topic we have to just that age group. And so then for family, we have, these are just a couple of items that we have for the family, but we have what is called a summit. And the night before, it's a Friday, Saturday event. The night before, it is just for the parents. And the parents come together, and it's one way that we build a community with just the parents. They get together, and sometimes we've had the parents read articles ahead of time and then come and do a discussion. One time the parents got together and there was a speaker, and then we just played just games. We just had a bunch of different games that we played. And at one point we had a really nice sit-down dinner, and there was several different speakers who talked about different things. And we really want to make it something that the parents can come to and feel edified, and then go back into their family and apply some of the things that they learn. We also have a family camp out every year, and this is just pure fun. The families come together and spend that night sitting around the campfire and talking and singing, and it's just fun. And we do some community building activities on the following day. We've done a tug of war, which helped them in so many symbolic ways. And it was just a lot of fun. We've done a hike into a caves, and the camp out is always just fun. So these are just some of the fun activities that we do outside of our Friday meetings, our Friday classes. And most of the time, these other activities like the summit and the camp out and like the scholar banquet and stuff like that, it occurs during the weeks that we have off in between our sessions. Each of our sessions is 6 weeks long, and then we take 2 weeks off. And these typically occur during those 2 weeks off. So we're not trying to overwhelm the families with a lot of activities. And so now let's talk about the scholar projects. So the scholar projects, this is called the Lemmy Continuum. And so basically our youth begin over on the left-hand side down at the bottom where you see the 3 different classes. There's Key of Liberty, Shakespeare Conquest, and Georgics. And as they progress on the continuum toward the right, they move from a self-directed, that's not right. I'm trying to remember what the term is. When they are an apprentice scholar, they submit more to a mentor. And so there's more, I guess, if you will, requirement from the mentor, but really we call it inspirement. So our projects that we've chosen for next year, the potential projects that we have that we would like to do are Key of Liberty, Sword of Freedom, Hero Project, and Quest 1 and 2. And those are for the scholar classes. Key of Liberty focuses on the revolutionary time period of the United States and the Constitution. The students will end up memorizing the Declaration of Independence. They will do a simulation, which is basically, if I remember correctly, it's a Constitution simulation. They will break apart all of the different amendments and articles in the Constitution so that they can really fully understand it and even rewrite it in their own words. In Sword of Freedom and Hero Project, they will focus on the Civil War and World War II. And they focus on the heroes of that time, and they will really gain an understanding of what it's like to fight for freedom. In Quest 1 and 2, that's when they focus on six heroes and their landmark speeches. And they learn to keep a commonplace book, and they take notes, and they learn to keep track of their learning and how to catalog it and where to find different things that they've written down. And they will also be prepared for moving into Quest 3, where they will actually write law briefs. So those are just some of our scholar classes. And that's just the content that they will cover, which is the vehicle for teaching them the scholar skills of learning how to think. In our current project that we have this year, it's Pyramid Project, and I'm fortunate to be the mentor for that project. And this project focuses on math and science and philosophy, and it teaches the youth how to find truth. And not just any truth, not just my truth as the mentor, it's to find their own truth. It teaches them to compare different thoughts in philosophy with their own thoughts and with what they see in their life. And they hold it up against their core book, which is where they look for truth, which could be scripture, it could be Les Miserables, it could be Chronicles of Narnia. They choose their core book, the book that they turn to for truth. And so when they meet with these philosophies, they match it up against their core book. So they're learning to find truth. And they also, in these scholar classes, they learn how to present, they learn how to write, they learn how to have a discussion, a book discussion, but not just talk about the things they liked in the book. They talk about the characters, and they talk about character traits of the people that they saw in the book and how they can apply that to their lives. For next year, we'd love to do Family Foundations and continue with the Classics Challenge. And the Family Foundations class is about learning about how to set up your family with vision and with finding mission and several other things. But that's what we're forecasting for next year. Ashley, you're muted again. It's okay.
Thank you for reminding me. It pops up on my screen to remind me too, but yeah. So one of the things real fast on this screen, so those scholar projects, the youth scholar projects that are at the bottom, that was the presentation that I saw when my kids were still young, and I knew that this is the path that I wanted them to be on. I wanted my kids to take these scholar projects because of the things that they learned, because of the people that they become as they take them. And so I love that my oldest has been through Key of Liberty and Pyramid Project, and then my younger two are doing Pyramid Project right now. So, or not my middle two under them. So right now I want to tell. Right now we currently meet on Fridays. It's the best of what works for our families, and we meet from about 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So we start with a devotional, and then we do what's called a family share. And our family share is really, it's where we take a book that's based on one of those hero attributes that I pointed out at the beginning, or it's based on our mission and our motto, like the hero. It's spelled out hero, hearts to serve. So our family share is a book. We read a book about that, and then the families all get a chance to share something that they've learned from that book. So we'll take a little bit of time and do that. And then we have what's called our classes. So our scholars go off and they meet in their classes for 2 hours. And then the younger kids have a 2-hour rotation, like a 1 hour one time and then another hour the next time where we do it. They swap classes. And these are the ones that the moms are mentoring. And then we all help clean up the house because we're currently having our school at a house. And so we want to make sure that we leave their families home the way that they would like it, that we show respect to their home and that we clean it up. And then we go to the park for lunch. And so the basic gist of it is this. There might be a few changes depending on how many families we have. We might be able to offer a few more classes. And then we'd also like to fit in our mom's class here. It just depends on how many moms we have to help teach classes and to take classes. So the way that we situate our Friday schedule really depends on how many families we have. All right, so just a little testimonial about leadership education and some of the stuff that we've been learning at the Hill. So this is my oldest daughter, Brady, and she wants to be a concert pianist. And it started with a class that she was taking at the Hill, and it wasn't any of those that were on that scholar path. It was another one that was done kind of in between those classes where we had a mentor, a mom who was there who was teaching the kids about projects, and she wanted each of them to set a goal. And Brady's goal that she did, it all revolved around piano. And in this process of being more dedicated to piano and reading certain books about people reaching their missions, she discovered that part of her mission is through her piano. Like, she wants to tell a story through her music, and she wants to be on stage. She wants to perform for people. And so at that time was when she really, really started digging into it. Uh-oh, my microphone is messing up. I'm still, okay. Okay, sorry, it said my microphone was messed up there. Anyway, so she started practicing more. She started being more dedicated to her piano. And this piano that she's playing on right now, she actually saved up and purchased on her very own. And is in the process right now of auditioning for universities to go to school and be a piano major in, not this fall, but she's getting ready to audition, excuse me. So she'll audition in the fall to attend in the next school year. So I think that because I don't know, that one mentor, that one mom who had a passion of her own that she was sharing with these kids in this class, sparked with Brady a desire to want to discover what her mission was. And she's still fine-tuning it. I mean, she's 17, but she's still fine-tuning it and she's working on it, but she's on that path. And I love that this environment, this leadership education, this family school has helped her on that journey. I could tell stories upon stories about experiences of how we've, as a community, as a family school, built a community, how we've made friends that are never going to lose. That we, even though some of the families are still on the other side in Mesa, we still monthly, at least my family will get together with a lot of those families. We still see each other. We still communicate with each other. We made lifelong friends because of this experience that we had. I don't know, Marissa, did you have a story that you wanted to share, a little testimonial?
Oh,
you don't have to. I just wanted to give you an opportunity.
No, I think that's a good place. Like, I'm good with just your testimonial. I think that's perfect.
Okay. So really that's the gist of who we are as the Hill, the Hero Institute for Lifelong Learning. And we hope that maybe you found something here that inspired you. Whether you join us or not, we hope that there's something that you learned that you can apply in your own homeschooling. We want to have a little bit of time now, just if you have any questions that we can answer. I'm going to open up this last slide right here. And then if there's anybody who has any questions, just go ahead and unmute yourself and let's chat if there's anything you do. If not, you can reach out to us on our the invite. You could message either of us if you think of something later. We also like to invite families to come visit us so you can actually see what it looks like in real life and meet some of the families in the community too. So if that's something that you think you would like to do, like, again, just message us and we'll help set something up. All right. Well, Marissa, do you have any last words? Holly, you're here. Do you have anything you want us to add?
Sharing. I enjoyed your presentation. So.
I don't think I have any last words other than to just say that we appreciate that you're here and that you're interested, and we want to get to know more people and grow our community. So please contact us, come visit. We love new families.
We do. All right, we will talk to you guys soon. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. We'll stop the share right there. All right. Have a great week, guys, and we'll talk soon.